out local officers and install a trustee to handle the daily operation of the union. The hearing should be underway at 2 o'clock this afternoon. It could last a week to 10 days. In other news this noon, some Western New Yorkers may have been delayed by ties.
About 400 union members showed up in Cheektowaga today to show support for the leaders of Laborers Local 210. The allegation the union is mob-controlled, one of the most corrupt in the country, is scoffed at.
I say that's hogwash, and the reason why, they've made allegations for the past 25, 30 years. And if they were so true, why didn't they do something 25, 30 years ago? Why are they waiting till today?
The special hearing was scheduled to decide whether to throw out the current officers and replace them with an independent trustee. Testimony was set to be heard today from Ronald Fino, past business agent for Local 210, who went into hiding in 1988 with the help of the Federal Witness Protection Program. The parent union Laborers International would not predict an outcome.
And our only hope as an international is that this union will be run, this local will be run for the benefit of the working men and women of Buffalo.
But after just an hour, the hearing was canceled for today. We were told a compromise could be in the works.
We're going to sit back in there, go back in there, and go back and forth with the attorneys to see how we could work this out.
So for now, everything is on hold. If a special compromise can be worked out, that would eliminate the need for a special hearing that could have lasted anywhere from a week to 10 days. Marie Bright, News 4, asks many members object because they don't want to lose the right to elect their own leaders. It has been alleged in the past that Local 210 was controlled by the mob. Members say that's not the case now. The international and the local will resume trusteeship hearings at noon tomorrow. It emerged as the trusteeship hearing was about to get underway. Channel 2's Tony Farina has the story.
Talk of a settlement seemed far removed this morning as Local 210 leaders rallied their sign-carrying supporters against the International Union.
How can we trust the International? How can we trust them? Every time we turn around, they're canceling. Why didn't they have their people here last night? This is very important to all the members of this local. I don't want to see this local go down. We're fighting this for all of you out here.
In December, the International advised the local it wanted to impose a trustee to run the union because of alleged organized crime activity. The hearing was scheduled to begin at 10 a.m., but didn't get underway until 2. But an hour later, members emerged from the closed hearing before any testimony was taken.
Looks like we're going to do good. Very good.
Think there's going to be some sort of deal cut?
Yep, that's what they're proposing now.
Will maintain your own leadership?
Yes.
Turns out Local 210 attorney Paul Cambria and the International's lead attorney, Robert Luskin, made progress towards a settlement in this parking lot meeting.
Mr. Luskin and I had a conversation there on the side lot, and we're exploring the possibility of a settlement. It has to be leaders monitor to both sides, and they're negotiating basically the details now.
Without any compromise or deal, the union leadership, as presently constituted, faced the prospect of being removed from office and a trusteeship being imposed. Now the talk of a settlement could preserve their jobs. Talks are expected to continue tonight and resume tomorrow on a possible settlement. The hearing is tentatively scheduled to begin at noon tomorrow. Tony Farina, Channel 2 News.
And you're looking live right now at the
reports that Buffalo's Laborers Local 210 is mob-controlled brought the union's international leadership to the Queen City today for a closed-door meeting. Reports that the union's international plan to oust the local leadership and take control of the local brought a rally of support from the union rank and file. Meanwhile, Eyewitness News is learning tonight that an agreement may have been reached that will allow local union leaders to keep their jobs and avoid the trusteeship proposed by the International. Today is Ash Worse tonight. Local 210 is battling corruption charges, and tonight, Channel 2's Tony Farina reports the union may try and settle without that hearing after all.
About an hour into the trusteeship hearing this afternoon, Local 210 supporters began emerging from the session talking of a possible deal.
We're trying to resolve something that they notified our officers.
The settlement talks apparently began in this parking lot meeting between Local 210 Attorney Paul Cambria and the lead attorney for the International Union, Robert Luskin, who had been scheduled to act as the prosecutor in the closed hearing. Hold for a second. The International had advised Local 210 back in December that it wanted to impose a trustee to restore democracy to the Union, but the local leadership might be saved under a settlement.
Certainly it would be something much less than a trusteeship, and at the same time it would guarantee fairness of the proceedings, and also that the rank and file of the Union would be protected and that their voice would be respected.
Talks reportedly revolve around a proposal from the local for a vote by the membership on the future of 210.
Our proposal to them included a vote by the rank and file membership, and we thought that the membership should have a say in what happens here. We've offered that. We'll have to wait and see what they, LIUNA, are willing to do.
Settlement talks are expected to continue tomorrow before the scheduled resumption of the hearing at noon. Tony Farina, Channel 2 News.
Well, former Local 210 business manager Ron Fino is reportedly still ready to testify if the delayed from yesterday. It was scheduled to resume at noon today. After further delays, it was finally postponed indefinitely.
It's your understanding, at this point anyway, that the negotiations are still going on between the lawyers?
That's what I think, yeah, that they're still negotiating right now, and they're trying to iron out some things that they're concerned about.
So at this point you don't know when or if these hearings are going to resume?
No idea.
Tony Farina talking about Sam Capitano. The International has charged Local 210 with being under mob control and in need of a trustee to help restore democracy to the members. Talks aimed at settling the charges began yesterday before any testimony was taken at the trusteeship.
Officials of the Union's International came to town the other day amid reports they were going to bounce the local union leaders and take control of the local themselves. But the latest word from Union Attorney Paul Cambria is that some sort of amicable settlement is going to be worked out. Here's Eyewitness News reporter Jerry Giordano with some background on why Local 210 has gotten such a shady reputation.
It has been a long and checkered road for Local 210, beginning with Joseph Todoro Sr. According to the U.S. Justice Department, it is he who dictated the affairs of 210 for at least a decade. Federal agents have also identified Todoro as boss of the La Cosa Nostra crime family here in Buffalo. His son, Joseph Jr., is a former business agent of the Union and is also identified by federal agents as a figure in organized crime. So too is Daniel Sansonis, who served as secretary-treasurer of 210. And the list continues with Daniel Domino, who was former president of 210 and who served a prison term for extortion. The late William Shalino is also identified as a former member of the mob. He was murdered in March of 1980, officials say, after it was learned he may have leaked information to the FBI. In addition, both Joseph Todoro Sr. and Joseph Todoro Jr., along with Daniel Sansonis, are suspected in alleged extortion plots involving local labor unions in Plattsburgh, Oswego, Messina, and in Rochester. Expected to testify during the hearings, meantime, is this man, once known as Chucky Carlo. He is now part of the Federal Witness Protection Program. We interviewed him back in 1985 about his new life.
They're always anxious and, looking over your shoulder, and you're extremely cautious, But after a while, it just kind of goes with time.
Carlo, who once ran an antique shop on Elmwood Avenue, is also responsible for helping police return a stolen Rembrandt to the French government. And also expected to testify at those hearings is Ronnie Fino. He is another former president of 210, and as of right now, he is also a member of the Federal Witness Protection Program.
Sounds like the script of a movie, Jerry, but it's for real, huh?
Yes, it is, and whether those hearings will continue or not remains to be seen. Once again, Paul Cambria says they're trying to reach some sort of settlement, but whether that will happen again remains to be seen.
Both leaders of Labor's International Union. At stake now is control of Local 210. An internal hearing was set to begin yesterday in Cheektowaga to determine if the leadership should be kicked out and replaced with a trustee because of allegations of mob ties to the local. The hearing remains on hold until it's determined that a settlement is
assurances those ties have been broken. The threat was that a trustee would be appointed to run the local union. Eyewitness News reporter Steve Boyd tonight shows you why the checkered past of 210 was some cause for concern.
Members of Local 210 met in front of the Marigold Manor for the past several days. wondering what the future of the union will be. Local 210 has had a colorful relationship with law enforcement over the years. Here are some of the players. Justice Department officials say Joseph Todaro Sr. dictated the affairs of 210 for at least a decade. Federal agents believe Todaro was the boss of the La Cosa Nostra crime family here in Buffalo. His son, Joseph Jr., is a former business agent of Local 210, also identified by federal government officials as a figure in organized crime. So too is Daniel Sansonis, who served as secretary and treasurer of Local 210. Daniel Domino, who was a former president of 210, served a prison term for extortion. And the late William Shalino is also identified as a former mob member. Shalino was murdered in March of 1980. Officials say after it was learned he may have leaked information to the FBI. In addition, both Joseph Todaro Sr. and Joseph Todaro Jr., along with Daniel Sansonis, are suspected in an alleged extortion plot involving local labor unions in Plattsburgh, Oswego, Messina, and Rochester, New York. The hearings, which were expected to take place here, were reportedly going to include gripping testimony from people like former union leaders Ron Fino and Chucky Carlo. Sources reported that the two were about to blow the cover off some of Local 210's darkest secrets.
But those secrets will probably remain just that, secret, because there has been a settlement reached, and we have been told that if in fact a settlement was reached, there would not be any need for hearings between the local union and the international union. The details of that settlement have not been made public to us. We can tell you that an announcement will be made tomorrow morning, at which time the rank and file will find out exactly what that agreement is and exactly who will be in charge of Local 210. Back to you.
On charges, attorneys for the two sides held talks into the evening hours tonight as the scheduled trusteeship hearing was again adjourned. Earlier today, Local 210 members stood vigil at the hearing site.
But your understanding, at this point anyway, that the negotiations are still going on between the lawyers?
That's what I think, yeah, that they're still negotiating right now, and they're trying to iron out some things that they're concerned about.
So at this point, you don't know when or if these hearings are going to resume?
No idea.
Back in December, the International Union announced plans to impose a trustee leadership on Local 210, alleging the union has been under the control of organized crime. The trusteeship hearing was scheduled to begin yesterday, but less than 60 minutes into the hearing, both sides began talking about a possible settlement.
Erie County's health commissioner wants to make it tougher for residents to light up in public places. Commissioner Arnold Lubin has proposed legislation which would ban
The International Parent Organization had accused the local of being influenced by the mob. They wanted to replace all 210 leaders with a trustee, in effect wiping out the union leadership. Instead, all sides agreed to appoint a supervisor. All current officers will resign, and a membership advisory board will be established to consult with the supervisor.
I saw something we have accomplished through a settlement, and without, I think, the emotion and divisiveness that the proof of those charges would have entailed, we've accomplished every single thing that we could have accomplished had we succeeded completely at the end of an evidentiary hearing and the court fight that would have followed.
The supervisor will take control of union affairs on March 34th.
A deal last night that will put a supervisor in charge. News 4's Marie Rice has details of this historic agreement.
The agreement was hammered out over 2 days of negotiations. Buffalo Labor's Local 210 has agreed to the appointment of a supervisor by its international. This person will take full charge of the union's business over a period of up to 2 years. All current officers will voluntarily resign at the end of March.
Well, we're comfortable with it. At least we're going to be in there negotiating, and the whole thing was for our members. We did this, we weren't happy with it, but we're comfortable with it. And we're very comfortable. They're going to put a supervisor in there. We're going to work with him.
The parent union, the Laborers International, says it achieved all its goals and is not backing away from allegations Local 210 had ties to organized crime.
I stand by every word in that complaint for trusteeship. We were prepared to prove it. We would be prepared to prove it now if we needed to do it.
Some members of Local 210 feel this is probably the best way to go at this time.
It'll be good. It'll be good for everybody in the union. We'll stand together again, be a union again. We need that right now. The settlement.
National representatives, but as News 4's Craig Negrelli reports, union members...
And this is a specimen that I removed from
power.
Angry members of Laborers Local 210 refused to allow their business manager to hand in his resignation and turn over the keys of the local to representatives of 210's parent, the International Union of North America. Last month, all leaders of Local 210 agreed to resign and turn over control to a supervisor appointed by the International. The deal averted a hearing international officials say would have exposed mob connections and mob influence within 210.
I stand by every word in that complaint for trusteeship. We were prepared to prove it. We would be prepared to prove it now if we needed to do it.
But hundreds of Local 210's rank and file are now crying foul. They claim the agreement is invalid because they never had the opportunity to vote on it. The union's membership committee has gathered close to 1,000 signatures from members who say they don't want current leaders to step down without a vote.
We have a right to vote on anything that the executive board agrees upon. It was never put before us, and as far as we're concerned as a membership, it's null and void.
This is unfair. This is unconstitutional. Our rights are being trampled on.
This afternoon, when the new deputy supervisor tried to enter 210 headquarters, he was surrounded and decided it best not to try to move in today.
If they feel that it's not, that it's wrong, let them direct their feelings to the International.
The union's membership committee says it will now fight for its leadership in court, and they say they won't relinquish control to the International until a ruling is rendered. Craig DeGrelli, News 4 at 6.
And international officials now say Local 210 leaders violated their agreement and face the loss of their union
back. We want our union for the people, and these are the people.
The rank and file had plenty of questions when John Curran showed up. Curran is a local attorney hired by the International Union.
We have the right, we should have the right, it's our local union to vote who we want to represent us.
There's a problem here.
Let's not contradict here.
There's a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding is that your union leaders, your executive board, agreed to this transaction, but we did not.
But things threatened to get out of control when the man appointed by the International as deputy supervisor tried to skirt around the crowd and into the building.
We don't want to be here.
Gabriel Rosetti is a business manager for the Syracuse local. He was sent in to accept the resignations.
Obviously, the membership is not about to let these gentlemen turn in their keys or their credit cards. What if they can't? What if that is blocked? Listen, that will have to be dealt with by the International.
Finally, Rosetti left without the resignations nor the keys to the union hall.
The membership committee has taken over the keys to the union hall
from the executive members.
And they belong here. They belong to the members.
And union members say this dispute is not only affecting them, it's also making negotiations with contractors more difficult. In fact, tomorrow, union members will go on strike after failing to reach an agreement with the Association of General Contractors for Highway Work. Members say it's because the AGC didn't want to make a deal if they didn't know who's running Local 210.
Now, Pete, how long is this supposed to last, and is that going to affect highway construction?
Well, at this point, it is anyone's guess because it's kind of difficult to tell. The trusteeship overseeing the local is estimated to last up to 2 years, and members say they're willing to fight this in court. And to top everything else off, today it came out that UB Law School professor George Kinnar, he hasn't even signed a contract, so as far as how long this is going to last, it's anyone's guess.
It's going to have to hang in there and wait.
That's right.
All right, thanks, Pete. Well, across the border in Ontario, 67,000 striking civil servants could be back to work as early as Monday. Members of the Ontario Public Service Employees Union are expected to ratify a tentative contract reached with the government. Results of the vote are expected late tonight, and although most workers...
Unity, they will be back at the Union Hall at 6:30 in the morning. Cynthia?
Today marks Palm Sunday for many Christians throughout the world. It's the day Jesus entered Jerusalem, with his followers laying palm branches in his path just 5 days before his crucifixion. Pope John Paul II spoke to thousands in St. Peter's.
All about